Captain Daeho Park stared at the morning reports on his tablet while drinking his third cup of coffee. The Earth Defense Force monitoring station buzzed with quiet activity around him. Technicians checked readouts, communications officers handled, routine traffic and analysts pored over data streams from the outer system sensors. It was supposed to be a normal Tuesday. "Captain," called Communications Officer Hyojin Kim from her workstation. "I'm getting some weird readings from the deep space array." Daeho walked over to her station, setting his coffee cup on the counter. Hyojin was one of the best commie officers he had ever worked with. If she said something was weird, it was worth investigating. "What kind of weird?" he asked. Hyojin pulled up the data on her main screen. "Gravitational anomalies at the edge of the system. The sensors are picking up mass distortions that don't match any known objects." Daeho studied the readings. Space was never completely empty, but these readings showed something big. Multiple large objects where nothing should exist. "Could be a sensor malfunction," suggested tactical analyst Sung-Min Lee, joining them at the workstation. "Those deep space arrays are always acting up." "Run a diagnostic," Daeho ordered, "and cross-reference with the other monitoring stations." While Hyojin worked, Daeho thought about the implications. The Earth Defense Force maintained a network of sensors throughout the solar system, watching for asteroids, comets, and other potential threats. They also watched for signs of alien life, though most people thought that was a waste of time and money. "Diagnostic complete," Hyojin reported. "All systems functioning normally. And Captain, I'm getting confirmation from Luna Station and Mars Outpost. They're seeing the same anomalies." That got Daeho's attention. One sensor could malfunction. 3 sensors detecting the same thing meant it was real. "How big are we talking about?" he asked. Sung-Min ran calculations on his tablet. "Based on the gravitational readings, we're looking at objects the size of large asteroids, maybe bigger, and there are a lot of them. Natural objects don't cluster like this," Hyojin added, pointing to the display. "Look at the formation. It's too organized, too symmetrical." Daeho felt a chill run down his spine. In his 15 years with the Defense Force, he had seen strange readings before. Solar flares, asteroid swarms, equipment failures. This was different. This looked deliberate. "Send a report to Earth Command," he ordered. "Flag it as Priority 1. Meanwhile, 300 kilometers away on Luna Station, Dr. Bo-Ra Choi was having her own strange morning. As the head of the Xenobiology Research Department, she spent most of her time studying theoretical alien life forms and developing first contact protocols that everyone assumed would never be used. Her computer chimed with an incoming priority message from Earth Defense Command. As she read it, her coffee grew cold in her hands. "This is it," she whispered to herself. For years, Bo-Ra had been preparing for this moment. Not because she expected aliens to arrive, but because preparation was her job. She had developed communication protocols, analyzed possible alien psychologies, and created response plans for various scenarios. She had never expected to actually use them. Bo-Ra activated her emergency communication system and called her research partner, engineer Tai-Woo Nam, who was currently stationed on the Mars Defense platform. "Tai-Woo," she said when his face appeared on her screen. "Have you seen the readings from the outer system?" Tai-Woo nodded grimly. He was a quiet man who preferred working with machines to dealing with people, but his engineering skills were legendary throughout the Defense Force. "I've been tracking them for the last hour," he said. "Bo-Ra, these aren't asteroids. The mass distribution is all wrong, and they're moving in formation. How long do we have?" Tai-Woo's fingers flew over his keyboard, running calculations. "At current velocity, they'll reach the inner system in approximately 72 hours. Bo-Ra felt her stomach drop. 72 hours to prepare for humanity's first contact with an alien civilization, and based on the size and organization of the approaching objects, it might not be a friendly meeting. "I'm activating the xenobiology protocols," she said. "Can you get to Earth?" "Already packing," Tai-Woo replied. "My transport launches in 2 hours. Back on the monitoring station, Captain Daeho was fielding calls from his superiors. General Sun Ho-yoon, commander of the Earth Defense Force, appeared on his main screen looking tired and worried. "Park, I need you to give me good news, the general said. I wish I could, sir. The readings are consistent across all monitoring stations. We have unknown objects approaching the inner system, large objects moving in formation. General Yoon rubbed his temples. How large? Preliminary estimates suggest objects ranging from 1 kilometer to 10 kilometers in length, possibly larger. Sir, there are hundreds of them. The general was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was steady but strained. Captain, I'm upgrading this to a code yellow alert. Begin evacuation protocols for non-essential personnel on outer system installations. Yes, sir. And Park? I'm sending Admiral Mi Young Kang to take command of the situation. She'll arrive within 6 hours. Daeho knew Admiral Kang by reputation. She was brilliant, tough, and had never lost a battle simulation. If anyone could handle first contact with aliens, it was her. Understood, sir. After the call ended, Daeho looked around his monitoring station. His people were working with quiet efficiency, but he could see the tension in their faces. They all knew what this meant. Humanity was no longer alone in the universe. On Earth, in the capital city of Seoul, emergency meetings were being called at the highest levels of government. President Kim Jae-min sat in a secure conference room, deep beneath the presidential palace, surrounded by military advisors, scientists, and intelligence officials. Give me the situation, he said. Defense Minister Park Chan-woo stood at the head of the table. Mr. President, approximately 6 hours ago, our deep space monitoring systems detected a large number of unknown objects approaching our solar system. Based on their size, organization, and approach vector, we believe them to be artificial constructs. Alien spacecraft. The room fell silent. For decades, humanity had wondered if they were alone in the universe. Now they had their answer. What are our options? The president asked. We're preparing for several scenarios, Admiral Kang said via video link from her command ship. Best case, this is a peaceful first contact situation. We have protocols in place for communication attempts and diplomatic engagement. And worst case? The Admiral's expression was grim. Worst case, this is an invasion force. Our preliminary analysis suggests we would be significantly outgunned. Dr. Bo-Ra arrived at Earth Command headquarters just as the emergency briefing was beginning. She was escorted quickly to the main conference room where dozens of the world's top military and scientific minds were gathered. Dr. Choi, Admiral Kang said from the main screen. What's your assessment? Bo-Ra looked at the data displays showing the approaching objects. The formation suggests military organization. The size of the fleet indicates significant technological capability. If these are aliens, they're far more advanced than us. Recommendations? General Yoon asked. We attempt communication first. Standard mathematical sequences, prime numbers, basic physics. If they respond peacefully, we follow diplomatic protocols. If not, Bo-Ra hesitated. If not, we prepare for the worst. Engineer Tae-woo, who had arrived on the same transport as Bo-Ra, studied the tactical displays. Something about the alien approach bothered him. It was too perfect, too organized. Like they had been planning this for a very long time. Admiral, he said, has anyone considered that they might know more about us than we know about them? The question hung in the air. It was a terrifying thought. What if humanity had been watched, studied, analyzed for years without knowing it? We'll proceed with caution, Admiral Kang decided. All defense forces are being moved to high alert. Evacuation protocols are in effect for outer system installations, and we're going to try to talk to them. As the meeting continued, nobody noticed the small detail that would later prove significant. Throughout the solar system, in research labs and engineering stations, certain individuals were experiencing strange dreams and sudden insights. People like Tae-woo found themselves understanding complex engineering problems that had puzzled them for years. Scientists like Bo-Ra discovered they intuitively grasped alien psychology concepts that should have taken months to develop. It was as if something was preparing humanity for what was coming. But nobody realized it yet. The countdown had begun. In 66 hours, humanity would face its greatest challenge and they had no idea that their enemies had been preparing for this moment for 3 centuries, but humanity had been preparing too, in ways they didn't understand. They had no idea that everything was about to change. The 72 hours expired at exactly 14:32 Earth Standard Time. Fleet Commander Yulthek stood on the bridge of his command vessel, surrounded by officers who had trained for this moment their entire lives. Around them, 50,000 Vorthak warships powered their weapons and prepared to execute the most thoroughly planned military operation in galactic history. "All ships report battle ready," announced Communications Officer Vextal. "Human response to our ultimatum?" Yulthek asked. "No formal surrender received, Commander. Human military forces have assumed defensive positions throughout their system." Yulthek felt a mixture of satisfaction and regret. The humans had chosen to fight exactly as Vorthak psychological models had predicted. Their destruction would be swift, but complete. "Begin the attack," he commanded. The Vorthak fleet began its advance with clockwork precision. Every ship knew its role, every weapon system had its target, every tactical maneuver had been practiced thousands of times. 3 centuries of preparation had made them perfect instruments of war. On Earth, Admiral Mi-young Kang watched the alien advance from the Defense Command Center. The enemy fleet moved like a single organism, each ship in perfect coordination with the others. It was beautiful and terrifying. "All stations, this is command," she broadcast across the human defense network. "Enemy forces are advancing. Execute. Plan Delta." Plan Delta was humanity's best strategy for asymmetric warfare against a superior force. Hit-and-run tactics, guerrilla strikes, and fighting retreats designed to make the invasion as costly as possible. It was a good plan, but everyone knew it would only delay the inevitable. Captain Daeho Park received the order on his heavy cruiser, the Soul's Pride. Around him, his crew worked with the same strange calm that had settled over humanity during the countdown. They moved with efficiency that seemed almost supernatural. "Weapons status?" he asked. "All systems optimal, Captain," reported Weapons Officer Lee Dong-hyun. "But sir, something's different about our targeting systems. I'm seeing resolution and accuracy readings that are impossible." "Impossible how?" "Sir, according to these readings, I can target individual components on enemy ships from extreme range. The computer is showing me tactical options I've never seen before." Daeho looked at his tactical display. Lee was right. The targeting information was far beyond anything their systems should be capable of producing. But somehow, he understood exactly what he was seeing. "Trust the equipment, Lieutenant. Trust yourself." On Luna Station, Dr. Bora Choi watched the battle begin through the deep space monitoring arrays. But she wasn't focused on the tactical situation. She was studying the changes in human technology and behavior that had accelerated dramatically in the final hours before combat. "Dr. Park," she called to her colleague, "are you recording the resonance patterns?" Dr. Park, So Young, nodded, her eyes wide with amazement. "Bora, it's like watching evolution in real time. Every human installation, every ship, every piece of equipment is operating in perfect harmony. It's creating some kind of field effect across the entire solar system." "What kind of field?" "I don't know, but it's affecting space-time itself. The physics readings don't match any known science." Engineer Taewoo, aboard the Mars Defense Platform, was experiencing the field effect directly. His modifications to the platform's weapon systems had somehow connected with similar modifications throughout human space. The entire defense network was operating as a single integrated system. "Computer," he said, "show me system integration levels." "Integration at 94% and climbing," the AI responded. "All human installations are achieving quantum entanglement synchronization. This phenomenon is outside known physical parameters." Taewoo smiled. He understood now. Humanity wasn't just using technology differently. They were becoming something that could manipulate the fundamental forces of reality. The first contact between human and Vorthak forces came at the Jupiter orbital stations. Commander Thexavar, leading the Vorthak advance guard, expected to sweep aside human defenses with contemptuous ease. Instead, he encountered something impossible. The human ships moved wrong. They accelerated beyond what their engines should allow, turned tighter than their structural limits should permit, and fired weapons with accuracy that defied physics. Evasive maneuvers, Thexvar ordered as a human missile somehow curved around his ship's shields and struck the hull directly. "Commander, our tactical computers cannot predict their movement patterns," reported his navigation officer. "They appear to be violating several laws of physics." Impossible. Humans do not possess technology for controlled gravity manipulation, but even as he said it, Thexvar watched human fighters perform maneuvers that required manipulation of local space-time. The humans were somehow bending reality to their will. Captain Park Jinsu, commanding the defense of Jupiter Station, felt the change happening within himself as he piloted his fighter through impossible vectors. He wasn't flying the ship anymore. He was becoming part of it, understanding its systems at a quantum level. "All wings, this is Alpha Leader," he broadcast. "Follow my lead." His squadron moved in perfect formation, their ships responding to thoughts as much as controls. They engaged the Vorthak advance guard and achieved something that should have been impossible. They won. Aboard the Vorthak command ship, Fleet Commander Yulthek watched his advance forces retreat in confusion and fear. 3 centuries of preparation, and the humans were fighting with capabilities that had never been observed before. "Status report," he demanded. "Heavy losses in the advance guard," reported Intelligence Officer Kexthar. "Commander, the humans are using unknown technology. Their ships are performing maneuvers that violate known physics. Update tactical assessments immediately. Adapt countermeasures for their new capabilities." "Sir, we cannot adapt countermeasures for technology we don't understand. Our computers cannot even properly analyze what they're doing." For the first time in 3 centuries, Yulthek felt genuine uncertainty. The long preparation had accounted for every known aspect of human capability, but the humans weren't using known capabilities anymore. The battle continued across the solar system. At Mars, Taewu's modified defense platforms created energy fields that deflected Vorthak weapons, while simultaneously striking back with impossible accuracy. At Luna Station, mining lasers were somehow converted into weapons that could punch through advanced alien shields. In the asteroid belt, human miners found themselves manipulating gravity fields to hurl asteroids at enemy ships with precision that would have required supercomputers to calculate. Except they weren't calculating anything. They simply knew where to aim. Dr. Bora watched the battle data with growing understanding. "So young, I think I know what's happening. Tell me." "Humans have always had the potential for this. We just never needed it before. We've been unconsciously limiting ourselves to what seemed rational, possible, explainable. But faced with extinction, those limitations are breaking down." "You're saying we're evolving?" "I'm saying we're revealing what we always were underneath, the limitations we imposed on ourselves." Admiral Kang, coordinating the human defense, felt the truth of Bora's words. Her strategic thinking had transcended normal human capabilities. She could see the entire battle as a 4-dimensional pattern, understanding not just what was happening but what could happen. "All forces," she broadcast, "execute Omega Protocol." Omega Protocol didn't exist in any tactical manual. She had created it in that moment, seeing possibilities that emerged from humanity's new capabilities. Across the solar system, human forces responded with perfect understanding, as if they shared a collective consciousness. The Vorthak fleet, despite overwhelming numerical and technological superiority, found themselves facing an enemy that operated outside the parameters of warfare itself. Human forces weren't just fighting them. They were reshaping the battlefield on a quantum level. Commander Yulthek watched his carefully planned attack dissolve into chaos as human capabilities continued to expand in real time. Ships that had been destroyed were somehow repairing themselves. Weapons that should have been impossible were appearing throughout human space. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "we're detecting massive energy buildups throughout the human system. They appear to be preparing some kind of coordinated attack." "What kind of attack?" "Unknown, sir. The energy signatures don't match any known weapon technology." Yulthek looked at the tactical display showing his 50,000 ships. They still outnumbered the humans 25-1. They still possessed superior technology, but for the first time since the long preparation began, he wondered if it would be enough. In human space, the transformation was reaching its climax. Every human installation, every ship, every individual was connecting to the quantum field that had emerged from their collective awakening. They were becoming something new, something that the Vorthak had never observed because it had never existed before. The battle was about to enter its final phase, and humanity was ready to show the galaxy what they truly were. The massive war chamber stretched across the length of 3 battleships. Dark metal walls curved upward, covered in screens that showed star maps, battle plans, and data streams. At the center of it all sat Commander Thexvar, his 4 arms moving across control panels while his main eyes studied the holographic display floating before him. The display showed a small blue planet orbiting a yellow star. Earth. Such a simple name for what could become the greatest threat the Vorthak Empire had ever faced. "Show me the latest data," Thexvar commanded. His voice echoed through the chamber, causing dozens of technicians to work faster at their stations. The hologram changed. Now it showed strange creatures walking on 2 legs. Humans. They looked so weak compared to the mighty Vorthak warriors. No natural armor, no claws, no venomous spines. Just soft pink skin and fragile bones. "They are primitive," said Sub-Commander Nexthol, approaching the display. "Look at their weapons. They still use metal projectiles and simple explosives. Their fastest ships barely reach a fraction of light speed." Thexvar studied the data more carefully. The humans had only recently developed nuclear weapons. Their space travel was limited to their own solar system. They fought wars with bullets and bombs, not energy weapons or quantum disruptors. By all measures, they were centuries behind Vorthak technology. But something bothered him. "Computer, show me human technological development over the last 200 Earth years," he ordered. The display shifted. What Thexvar saw made his secondary hearts skip beats. In just 2 centuries, these creatures had gone from riding animals and sailing wooden ships to splitting atoms and walking on their moon. The rate of advancement was unlike anything in the galactic database. "This cannot be correct," Nexthol said, his voice uncertain. "No species advances this quickly." Thexvar pulled up comparison data. The Vorthak Empire had taken 3,000 years to develop space travel after discovering fire. The Zentari had needed 4,000 years. Even the quick-learning mollusk had required 1,500 years. Humans had done it in less than 300. "Run the projection," Thexvar said quietly. The computer calculated human advancement rates and projected them forward. The results were terrifying. If humans continued developing at their current pace, they would have weapons capable of destroying entire star systems within 500 years. Within 1,000 years, they could pose a threat to the entire galaxy. The chamber fell silent except for the humming of machines and the soft clicking of Vorthak claws on metal floors. Admiral Kethmore entered the chamber, his massive form casting shadows across the room. As the supreme military commander of the Vorthak Empire, his word was law in all matters of war. "What have you found?" Kethmore asked. Thexvar presented the data. The admiral studied it for long minutes, his 4 eyes processing every detail. When he finished, his expression was grim. "How long before they become a real threat?" Kethmore asked. "Unknown, Admiral. Their advancement rate is unpredictable. They could stagnate tomorrow, or they could make breakthrough discoveries that accelerate their progress even more." Kethmore's claws drummed against the control panel. The Vorthak Empire had ruled this section of the galaxy for 10,000 years. They had conquered or destroyed hundreds of species. None had ever presented a challenge like this. "We cannot allow them to continue," the Admiral decided. "But we also cannot attack them unprepared. If we underestimate them, we could face disaster." "What do you propose?" Thexvar asked. "Complete preparation. We will study these humans for as long as it takes. We will learn everything about them, their biology, their psychology, their technology, their weaknesses. When we attack, we will be ready for anything they can throw at us." Kethmore activated the chamber's main communication system. His image appeared on screens throughout the Vorthak fleet and on their homeworlds. Citizens of the Empire, he began. We face a new challenge. A young species called humans threatens our dominion. They advance too quickly, learn too fast, adapt too well. Left unchecked, they will one day challenge our rule. The Admiral's image shifted to show Earth and the projection data. Therefore, I am authorizing the long preparation. We will spend whatever time is necessary to ensure victory. Every aspect of human civilization will be studied. Every possible weapon they might develop will be anticipated. Every tactic they might use will be countered. Throughout the Empire, military commanders received their orders. Research stations were established at the edge of human space. Spy probes were launched toward Earth. Scientists began analyzing every piece of human technology they could find. The humans had no idea. They were being watched. Over the following decades, the Vorthak gathered incredible amounts of information. They intercepted human communications, studied their entertainment, analyzed their wars. They learned human languages, human customs, human psychology. They discovered that humans were tribal creatures who fought among themselves constantly, but could unite when facing external threats. The Vorthak developed biological weapons specifically designed for human physiology. They created energy shields that could stop human projectiles. They built ships armed with weapons that could counter every type of human technology. Years turned into decades. Decades turned into centuries. The humans continued to advance, just as the projections had predicted. They developed better computers, better weapons, better ships. But the Vorthak stayed ahead of them, always preparing countermeasures for whatever new technology appeared. Commander Thexavar, now ancient even by Vorthak standards, oversaw the preparation efforts from his command station. His original body had been replaced with cybernetic parts to extend his life. The long preparation had become his life's work. Status report, he commanded. His aide, a younger Vorthak named Velchek, presented the latest intelligence. Human technology continues to advance, but within predicted parameters. We have countermeasures for all their current weapon systems. Our biological agents are ready. Our invasion fleet is the largest in Empire history. Thexvar nodded. 300 years of preparation. 300 years of study and planning and building. The humans had no idea what was coming. Their current military strength? He asked. Significant by their standards, but primitive by ours. They have approximately 2,000 warships scattered across their solar system. Their weapons are primarily kinetic and nuclear. No energy shields, no quantum weapons, no dimensional technology. And our fleet? 50,000 heavy warships, each armed with weapons centuries ahead of human technology. Plus support vessels, troop transports, and command ships. We outnumber them 25 to 1, and our technology is superior in every way. Thexvar allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. The long preparation was nearly complete. Soon, the human threat would be eliminated forever. Begin final preparations, he ordered. In 1 Earth year we attack. Admiral Kethmore, also extended by cybernetic enhancement, reviewed the final battle plans. Every possible human response had been anticipated. Every contingency had been planned for. The humans might fight bravely, but they could not win against such overwhelming preparation. The Vorthak had spent 3 centuries getting ready for this war. They had studied every aspect of human civilization. They knew human psychology better than humans knew themselves. They had weapons designed specifically to counter human technology and tactics. It would not be a battle. It would be an execution. The Admiral smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. The humans had no idea that their rapid advancement had doomed them. If they had remained primitive, the Vorthak would have ignored them. But their potential for growth had marked them for destruction. Soon, Kethmore said to himself, looking at the star charts showing the path to Earth. Soon the human problem will be solved forever. In the depths of space, the largest invasion fleet in galactic history continued its preparations. Every ship was ready. Every weapon was charged. Every soldier knew their role. The Vorthak had prepared for centuries to defeat Earth. They were confident that nothing could stop them now. The alien fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the solar system with precision that spoke of centuries of planning. Massive ships materialized in perfect formation, their dark hulls gleaming with energy shields and weapon arrays. The largest vessels stretched over 15 kilometers in length, dwarfing anything humanity had ever built. On the command ship, Fleet Commander Yulthek stood before the main display showing Earth's small blue dot in the distance. After 300 years of preparation, the moment had finally arrived. All ships report ready status, his communications officer announced. Begin the demonstration, Yulthek commanded. The fleet's weapons powered up simultaneously, creating a light show visible across half the solar system. Energy readings spiked on every human monitoring station from Mars to the outer planets. Captain Deho watched the display with growing dread. The alien fleet had just revealed firepower equivalent to humanity's entire nuclear arsenal, and they had done it as casually as turning on a light switch. "Sir," Hyejin said quietly, "we're receiving a transmission. It's on all frequencies. Put it through." The main screen filled with the image of an alien creature unlike anything in human imagination. Yulthek stood over 2 meters tall, with 4 arms ending in clawed hands and skin that seemed to shift between dark purple and black. His 4 eyes fixed on the camera with predatory intelligence. When he spoke, it was in perfect Korean, then English, then Mandarin, switching between languages with fluid precision. "People of Earth," Yulthek began, his voice carrying the weight of absolute authority. "I am Fleet Commander Yulthek of the Vorthak Empire. We have traveled far to bring you this message." The transmission was being received across Earth, on every communication system, every television, every computer. Humanity watched in stunned silence as their first contact with alien life unfolded. "For 3 centuries, we have studied your species," Yulthek continued. "We know your languages, your customs, your psychology, your technology. We know your weaknesses." In the Earth Defense Force Command Center, Admiral Mi Young Kang felt a chill at those words. 3 centuries of study. The aliens had been watching humanity for longer than most nations had existed. "Your rapid advancement threatens the stability of this galaxy," the alien commander continued. "Therefore, the Vorthak Empire has decided that your species cannot be allowed to continue its expansion." Dr. Bora, watching from the Scientific Analysis Center, felt her heart pounding. This was not first contact. This was a death sentence. "However," Yulthek said, "the Empire is not without mercy. You will be given 72 hours to consider surrender. Comply with our terms, and your deaths will be swift and painless. Resist, and we will demonstrate why the Vorthak Empire has ruled this region of space for 10,000 years. The transmission showed a detailed list of surrender terms. Humanity would shut down all military installations, disable all spacecraft, and prepare for systematic extermination. In exchange, the aliens promised that human civilization would be preserved in their historical databases. To demonstrate our capabilities, Yulthek continued, observe. The screen switched to an external view, showing several unmanned defense satellites orbiting Mars. Beams of pure energy lanced out from the alien fleet, covering the distance between the outer system and Mars in seconds. The satellites simply ceased to exist, vaporized so completely that not even debris remained. This is the fate that awaits any who oppose us, Yulthek concluded. You have 72 hours. Use them wisely. The transmission ended, leaving humanity in stunned silence. In the command center, Admiral Kang was the first to speak. Assessment now. General Sun Ho-yoon pulled up tactical displays. Fleet composition suggests over 50,000 vessels. Energy output readings are off the charts. Our best estimate is that each of their heavy ships could destroy one of our battle cruisers with a single shot. What about their demonstration? Admiral Kang asked. Engineer Tae-woo, who had been analyzing the satellite destruction, looked pale. Admiral, they hit targets at Mars from the edge of the system. That's impossible with any known physics. The energy had to travel faster than light, but it wasn't a hyperspace weapon. It was something else entirely. Dr. Bora stepped forward. Ma'am, I've been analyzing their communication. The language skills are perfect, but more than that, they demonstrated knowledge of human psychology. The surrender terms, the demonstration, even the timing. It's all designed for maximum psychological impact. What are you saying, Doctor? They know us better than we know ourselves. 3 centuries of study means they've probably analyzed every human conflict, every military strategy, every psychological profile. They know how we think, how we fight, how we react to threats. Admiral Kang studied the tactical displays showing the alien fleet's position. Recommendations? We fight, General Yoon said immediately. We can't trust them to keep their word about swift deaths, and we can't let them destroy humanity without a fight. With respect, General, Tae-woo interjected, fighting might be suicide. Their technology is centuries ahead of ours. Then what do you suggest, surrender? The debate continued. But Admiral Kang found herself thinking about something else. The alien commander had been very confident, very thorough in his presentation. But there had been something in his manner that bothered her. He had acted like someone following a carefully prepared script. What if that was exactly what he was doing? Dr. Choi, she said, interrupting the tactical discussion. In your analysis of the transmission, did you notice anything unusual about their behavior? Bora thought for a moment. Actually, yes, the commander's presentation was too perfect. Every word, every gesture, every pause was calculated for effect. It felt rehearsed. What would that mean? It could mean they've planned this exact scenario in detail. They know how humans react to threats, so they've prepared the perfect threat to achieve the response they want. Admiral Kang felt pieces of a puzzle clicking together in her mind. What response do they want? Fear. Despair. Surrender without meaningful resistance. Bora paused. Admiral, what if they're not as confident as they appear? What if all this preparation and demonstration is necessary because they're actually worried about something? Meanwhile, on the Vorthak command ship, Yolthek was indeed following carefully prepared protocols. Every word of his transmission had been planned and rehearsed for decades. The human response was unfolding exactly as predicted. Status of human military forces? He asked his intelligence officer. All units moving to high alert as expected. Evacuation of outer system installations proceeding normally. No unusual activity detected. And their government response? Emergency sessions in all major capitals. Standard crisis management protocols. Everything within predicted parameters. Yulthek nodded with satisfaction. 3 centuries of preparation had given them perfect insight into human behavior. The humans would spend the next 3 days in panic and debate, accomplishing nothing useful. When the attack came, they would be psychologically defeated before the first shot was fired. But something nagged at him. In all their studies of human behavior, there had always been statistical outliers. Individuals who didn't react the way psychology predicted. The Vorthak had dismissed these as irrelevant anomalies. What if they were wrong? Back on Earth, something unexpected was happening. As news of the alien threat spread, humanity didn't descend into panic as the Vorthak had predicted. Instead, a strange calm seemed to settle over the planet. In research facilities around the world, scientists found themselves working with unprecedented focus and clarity. Engineers like Tae-woo discovered that complex problems they had struggled with for years suddenly seemed solvable. Captain Daeho noticed it in his monitoring station. His crew worked with quiet efficiency, showing none of the fear or chaos that should have followed such devastating news. It was as if they were preparing for something, though none of them could say what. Dr. Bora experienced it most strongly. As she analyzed the alien transmission and developed response strategies, ideas came to her with startling clarity. Concepts about alien psychology, about human potential, about the nature of consciousness itself. It was as if humanity was waking up to something it had always known but never acknowledged. Admiral, Bora said suddenly, during another strategy meeting, I need to ask you something. Since the aliens arrived, have you felt different? More focused, more aware? Admiral Kang paused, considering the question. Now that Bora mentioned it, she did feel different, clearer, like she could see patterns and possibilities that had been invisible before. What are you thinking, Doctor? I'm thinking that maybe we're not as helpless as we appear. Maybe the aliens made a mistake in their calculations. What kind of mistake? Bora looked around the room at the assembled military and scientific leadership of humanity. They all had the same expression, the same focused intensity, the same sense that something was changing. Maybe they studied what we were, she said quietly, instead of what we could become. The countdown continued. 60 hours until the alien ultimatum expired. But humanity was changing, awakening to possibilities that 3 centuries of alien observation had never detected. The Vorthak had prepared for war against the humans they had studied. They were about to discover what humanity was truly capable of. Across Earth, the 72-hour countdown had begun. In major cities from Seoul to New York to London, giant screens displayed the time remaining until the alien ultimatum expired. But something strange was happening that the Vorthak had not predicted in their centuries of preparation. Humanity was not panicking. Jinwoo Lim stood in the main evacuation center in downtown Seoul, coordinating the movement of civilians from potential target areas. He had expected chaos, riots, desperate attempts to flee. Instead, families moved with calm purpose. Children stayed close to their parents. Elderly people helped others who needed assistance. "It's like they know something we don't," Jinwoo muttered to his assistant, watching a group of teenagers help carry supplies for evacuation shelters. In the military communications center beneath the city, Specialist Soo-Jin Park maintained contact with defense forces scattered across the solar system. Her job was to relay orders and coordinate responses, but she found herself doing something else entirely. The communication protocols she had learned seemed inadequate for what was needed. Almost unconsciously, she began modifying the systems, creating new ways for human forces to coordinate that she couldn't quite explain. "Park," called her supervisor, Lieutenant Colonel Bae Sung-woo. "What are you doing to the comm system?" Soo-Jin looked at her screens, surprised to see the changes she had made. "I'm not sure, sir. It just seemed like we needed better coordination methods. These modifications should improve response time by 40%. The lieutenant colonel studied her work. It was brilliant, using principles of quantum communication that he didn't even know their systems could handle. "How did you know how to do this?" "I don't know," Soo-Jin admitted. "It just felt right." Similar scenes were playing out around the world. In the European Defense Command, technicians found themselves understanding complex systems they had never seen before. At the Mars colony, engineers discovered solutions to problems that had puzzled them for years. On Luna Station, scientists made breakthrough discoveries with equipment they had been using for decades. Dr. Bora noticed it first in her own research team. Dr. Hwang Min-soo, a xenobiology specialist, was developing communication protocols at a speed that should have been impossible. Dr. Park So-young, who studied alien psychology theory, was producing insights that read like she had personally interviewed alien species. "Min-soo," Bora said, watching him work. "Explain to me how you developed this translation matrix." Dr. Hwang looked up from his screen, blinking in confusion. I'm not entirely sure. I was thinking about the alien transmission, trying to understand their communication patterns. Then suddenly I could see the underlying structure of their language. It was like reading a book I had memorized but forgotten. Engineer Tae-woo was experiencing the same phenomenon at the Mars defense platform. The weapon systems he had maintained for years suddenly made sense in ways they never had before. He found himself making modifications that improved their efficiency by orders of magnitude. "Computer," he said to the station AI, "run a diagnostic on weapon array modifications. Modifications exceed known performance parameters by 847%. The computer responded, "Engineering principles unknown, requesting explanation of upgrade methodology." Tae-woo stared at his work. He had somehow redesigned humanity's most advanced weapons using principles that didn't exist in any textbook, and he had done it almost unconsciously. Admiral Mi Young Kang observed these changes from the Earth Defense Command Center with growing fascination. Reports were coming in from across the solar system of similar phenomena. Human technology was being improved, modified, and upgraded by people who shouldn't have known how to do it. "General Yoon," she called. "Are you seeing these reports?" "General," Sun Ho Yoon approached her workstation, reading over her shoulder. "Productivity increases across all technical departments. Breakthrough discoveries in multiple scientific fields. Equipment modifications that our best engineers can't explain." He paused. "Ma'am, it's like our people are remembering things they never learned." On the alien command ship, Fleet Commander Yultek was reviewing the latest intelligence reports. With growing confusion, human behavior was not following any of their predicted models. "Intelligence Officer Kexthar," he called, "explain to me why the humans are not responding with appropriate fear." Kexthar, who had spent decades studying human psychology, struggled to understand the data. "Commander, all our models indicated that humans would respond to existential threats with panic, confusion, and internal conflict. Instead, they appear to be organizing." "Organizing for what?" "Unknown, Commander. Their activity patterns suggest preparation for conflict, but not using any tactics we have observed before. They are modifying their technology in ways we did not predict." Yultek felt a chill of uncertainty. The long preparation had accounted for every aspect of human behavior observed over 3 centuries. The humans were acting outside their established patterns. "Show me the latest technological assessments," he ordered. The displays revealed troubling information. Human energy output had increased across all installations. Their communication efficiency had improved dramatically. Most concerning, they were making modifications to weapons and defense systems that the Vorthak technology assessment teams couldn't understand. "This is impossible," Yultek said. "Humans do not possess the knowledge to make these modifications. Perhaps they have hidden technological capabilities we were unaware of," suggested Sub-Commander Nexthal. "Impossible. We have monitored their technological development for centuries. These capabilities did not exist 12 hours ago. Back on Earth, the changes were accelerating. Captain Daeho Park found his monitoring station operating at efficiency levels that broke every record. His crew worked with perfect coordination, as if they shared a collective understanding of their tasks." Communications Officer Hee Jin Kim looked up from her station with excitement. "Captain, I'm picking up something interesting. The deep space sensors are detecting some kind of resonance pattern throughout human space." "What kind of resonance?" "It's like all our equipment is synchronizing somehow. All the modifications and improvements happening across the system are creating a network effect. Our technology is becoming more integrated, more efficient, tactical." Analyst Seungmin Lee ran calculations on his tablet. "Captain, if these efficiency improvements continue at current rates, our defensive capabilities will increase exponentially over the next 48 hours. Daeho studied the data with amazement. It was as if humanity was undergoing some kind of technological evolution in real time. But how was it possible? Dr. Bo-Ra was asking herself the same question. In her laboratory on Luna Station, she was watching her team perform analysis that should have taken months in a matter of hours. But more than that, their insights were profound, reaching into areas of knowledge that humanity had never explored. "Dr. Choi," Dr. Park So-young called from her workstation, "I think I understand what's happening to us." "Explain." "The alien threat isn't just activating our survival instincts, it's triggering something deeper, something that was always there, but dormant." She paused, organizing her thoughts. What if humans have capabilities we never knew about? What if we unconsciously limited ourselves to what we thought was possible? Bo-Ra felt a shock of recognition. That was exactly what it felt like, as if invisible barriers in her mind were dissolving, allowing her to access knowledge and abilities that had always been there. "Keep working on that theory," she told So-young. Then she activated her communication link to Admiral Kang. "Admiral, I have a hypothesis about what's happening to us." "I'm listening, Doctor. What if the aliens made a fundamental error in their assessment? They studied our technology, our psychology, our behavior patterns. But what if they missed something essential about human nature itself?" Admiral Kang was quiet for a moment. She was feeling the changes, too. Her strategic thinking had become clearer, more intuitive. She could see patterns and possibilities that had been invisible before. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting that humanity has been unconsciously constraining itself. We've accepted limitations based on what we thought was possible, instead of exploring what might actually be possible. The alien threat is forcing us to abandon those limitations. Around the solar system, the transformation continued. On asteroid mining stations, workers found themselves understanding quantum mechanics intuitively. In research laboratories, scientists made breakthroughs in fields they had barely studied. On military bases, soldiers discovered they could operate equipment with unprecedented skill and efficiency. It was as if humanity was waking up from a long sleep. With 36 hours remaining until the alien ultimatum expired, humanity was no longer the same species the Vorthak had studied for 3 centuries. They were becoming something new, something that had been hiding within them all along. The aliens had prepared to fight humans as they understood them. They were about to discover that they had never truly understood humanity at all. In the depths of space, the massive Vorthak fleet maintained its position, waiting for the deadline to expire. They were confident in their preparations, their overwhelming technological advantage, their perfect understanding of human psychology. The moment came at exactly 1617 Earth Standard Time. Across human space, from the outer colonies to Earth itself, every person, every ship, every installation reached perfect synchronization. The quantum field that had been building for 3 days suddenly crystallized into something that transcended normal physics. Engineer Tae Woo felt it first on the Mars defense platform. His consciousness expanded beyond his physical body, connecting with every piece of human technology in the solar system. He wasn't just operating the defense platform anymore. He was part of a vast network that included every human mind and every human machine. I understand now, he whispered, his hands moving over controls that were reshaping reality itself. Dr. Bo-Ra, watching from Luna Station, felt the same connection. Her xenobiology research had prepared her to understand alien minds, but now, she was understanding something far more profound. She was experiencing human potential unleashed for the first time in the species' history. So young, she said to her colleague, record everything. The galaxy needs to know what humans truly are. Captain Daeho Park aboard the Soul's Pride felt his consciousness merge with his ship and then expand further to connect with the entire human fleet. He could see through the sensors of every vessel, think with the processing power of every computer, and act with the combined will of his entire species. This is what we were meant to be, he said softly. Fleet Commander Yulthek watched in growing horror as the human defense network began to glow with energy that registered on sensors throughout the galaxy. The carefully organized Vorthak fleet, positioned for optimal attack formations, suddenly seemed pitifully small against what was emerging from human space. Commander, his science officer called out, his voice tight with fear. The humans are generating energy readings that exceed our entire fleet's output by several orders of magnitude. That's impossible. Humans do not possess such technology. Sir, I don't think this is technology anymore. Yulthek looked at the tactical display. The human fleet, so small and seemingly helpless just moments before, now appeared to be composed of pure energy. But more than that, space itself around them was changing, bending to their will. Admiral Mi Young Kang stood in the Defense Command Center, but she was no longer limited to that single location. Her consciousness spanned the entire solar system, coordinating humanity's response with a mind that had transcended individual limitations. She could see the Vorthak fleet clearly now, not just their ships but their intentions, their fears, their growing realization that 3 centuries of preparation had been based on a fundamental misunderstanding of what humanity was. All forces, she communicated, not through radio, but through the quantum field itself. Execute final protocol. What happened next lasted exactly 11 minutes and 37 seconds. Taewoo didn't fire the Mars defense platform's weapons. Instead, he reached out with his consciousness and simply adjusted the local laws of physics. The Vorthak ships, in Mars orbit found themselves existing in space where their shields couldn't function and their weapons couldn't fire. They didn't explode. They simply stopped being dangerous. Captain Park, commanding the Jupiter Defense Wing, didn't destroy the enemy vessels around him. He convinced them that they were somewhere else entirely. The Vorthak ships suddenly found themselves drifting in empty space, their targeting computers showing no trace of the planet they had been attacking moments before. Dr. Bora, from her research station, reached out and touched the minds of the alien invaders. She didn't harm them. Instead, she shared with them the understanding of what humanity had become. The terror and confusion in the alien fleet turned to awe, and then to something approaching worship. Across the solar system, human forces didn't fight the Vorthak invasion. They transcended it. Commander Thexvar, who had spent 3 centuries preparing for this battle, watched his ship's weapons shut down not from damage, but from impossibility. The human defenders had somehow convinced reality that his weapons didn't exist. "This cannot be happening," he said, his voice barely a whisper. Captain Park Jin-soo, piloting his fighter near Jupiter, looked directly at Thexvar's ship through the quantum field. "Commander," he said, his words somehow reaching the alien despite the impossible distance and the lack of communication equipment. "You prepared to fight what you thought we were. You never asked what we could become." Fleet Commander Yultek felt his perfect battle plans crumbling as human consciousness swept through his fleet. But instead of destroying his ships, the humans were teaching them, showing them perspectives and possibilities that the Vorthak had never imagined. "Sir," his communications officer reported, "we're receiving a message from the human fleet." "Put it through." Admiral Kang's image appeared on the screen, but she looked different now. Her eyes held depths that seemed to contain galaxies, and, when she spoke, her words carried the weight of cosmic understanding. "Commander Yulthek," she said gently, "your empire spent 300 years learning about humanity, but you only studied what we chose to show you. You observed us limiting ourselves to what we thought was possible, and you assumed those limitations were real." Yultek felt something he had never experienced in his long life: humility. "What are you?" "We're what happens when a young species stops accepting limitations and starts exploring possibilities. We're what you could become too if you chose growth over conquest." Around the Vorthak fleet, space itself was being rewritten. Not to destroy the aliens, but to offer them something unprecedented, a chance to evolve beyond their own limitations. Engineer Nam Tae-woo, his consciousness now expanded across multiple dimensions, gently guided the alien ships to a safe distance from human space. He didn't force them or threaten them. He simply created a path that led to understanding instead of destruction. "Your empire has ruled through force for 10,000 years. Tae-woo's voice reached every Vorthak mind simultaneously. "But we offer you something your empire never discovered: the choice to become more than what you were." Dr. Choi Bo-ra reached out with her expanded awareness and touched the consciousness of every alien in the fleet. She shared with them not human memories or human knowledge, but human potential. The capacity for growth, for change, for transcendence. Many of the Vorthak officers wept, experiencing emotions their species had thought themselves incapable of feeling. Sub-Commander Nexthol, who had dismissed humans as primitive creatures, felt his entire worldview reshaping itself. "Commander, what do we do now?" Yulthek looked around his bridge at officers who had trained their entire lives for conquest and found themselves in the presence of something that offered transformation instead. "I don't know," he admitted. "In 3 centuries of preparation, we never prepared for this." Captain Park Dae-ho, his consciousness spanning the solar system, addressed the entire Vorthak fleet with compassion rather than victory. "You don't need to prepare for this, Commander. You just need to choose it." "Choose what?" "Choose to become what you could be instead of remaining what you've always been." The battle, if it could be called that, ended when Fleet Commander Yultek made a decision that would reshape galactic history. Instead of retreating to report humanity's impossible capabilities to his empire, he ordered his fleet to stand down and requested permission to learn. "Humans of Earth," he broadcast, The Vorthak Empire came here to destroy you because we feared what you might become. Now we have seen what you are, and we wish to understand how we might become something similar." Admiral Kang smiled, her expression carrying warmth that reached across the vast distances between fleets. "Commander, evolution isn't something that happens to you. It's something you choose, and the choice is always available." In the aftermath, as human consciousness gradually settled back into more familiar patterns, the solar system had been fundamentally changed, not by weapons or destruction, but by the revelation of what was possible when limitations were abandoned. Engineer Tae-woo, back in his physical body on the Mars defense platform, looked at his hands in amazement. He could still feel the echo of unlimited capability, the memory of manipulating reality itself. "Computer," he said, "record this date. This is the day humanity stopped pretending to be limited." Dr. Bora, in her laboratory on Luna Station, began composing a report that would change xenobiology forever. Personal log. "Today we discovered that evolution isn't just about biology. It's about consciousness choosing to transcend its own boundaries." Captain Park, aboard the Soul's Pride, looked out at the Vorthak fleet maintaining respectful distance while their commanders learned about possibilities they had never imagined. "This is Captain Park to all human forces," he broadcast. "Mission accomplished, not by destroying our enemies but by showing them a better way to exist." The Vorthak Empire had prepared for centuries to defeat Earth. They had studied humanity's every weakness, planned for every contingency, built the perfect war machine. But they had never considered that humanity's greatest strength was not in what they were, but in what they could become when they stopped accepting the limitations they had imposed on themselves. The invasion was over. Humanity had ended it, not in minutes of destruction, but in minutes of revelation. And across the galaxy, other species began to wonder,